Axel, can you put on your camera now? I don't know. Hey, hello, good morning. Axel is going to talk about a little bit of legislation. We are changing a little bit the topic now. We are and Sonia talks about a little bit of the companies and the global or sustainability in terms of companies. And you will talk about legislation, how the European is going to be part of this legislation on sustainability with plastics, with all the materials that we are using in packaging. No, Axel is your European International Affairs Advisor in the circular economy in CITEO. CITEO is a company like Ecoembes, but in France. He will explain better than me this. Yes, when you want to start, it's your turn.
Gracias. Hola a todos. Hablaré en inglés porque mi nivel de español es muy malo.
Bueno, muy bien, gracias. Gracias por tus palabras en castellano, muy bien.
Gracias por tu invitación. So I will present in English because, sorry, my level of Spanish is not really good. I'm going to share my screen. So yes, indeed, I'm from CITEO, which is an EPR scheme, the organization in charge of the EPR scheme for graphic papers and household packaging, which is the equivalent of Ecoembes, Ecovidrio, and another organization that doesn't exist in the Spanish market for graphic papers. We are the largest EPR scheme in Europe. So we have more than 30,000 clients for the French territory, and we are non-profit organizations, and we worked with 2 state accreditations for the EPR, and I'm in charge indeed of the EU and international affairs for the company, and we will talk today and we exchange regarding the regulatory challenges that we are facing on regarding packaging. So as you may know, we have a lot of regulations on packaging at the EU level. Thanks to the circular economy package, we have the Waste Framework Directive, the Landfill Directive, and the Packaging and Packaging Waste Directive. We will, of course, during this exchange, have a focus on the Packaging and Packaging Waste Directive, specifically on the essential requirements of this directive, because we are currently have a discussions with the European Commission regarding the revision of the essential requirements, and we will have a focus on this. And also we have other policies, such as the Plastic Bag Directive, as you know, the Single-Use Plastic Directive, which is part of the plastic strategy at the EU level, and the Waste to Energy Directive. When you take a look of all the facts that we have at the EU stage on packaging, we have all these files. So we have from the European Commission, specifically with the Green New Deal, with a focus on the Circular Economy Action Plan, the EU strategy on plastics, and all the text of applications that we are waiting for, specifically from the European Commission on Single-Use Plastic Directive. We have all new strategies linked to the Green New Deal, specifically on the industrial sector, the biodiversity and the farm to fork, which have a close links with the circular economy. And we also have the EU chemical strategy for sustainability, which requires the same level of requirements regarding eco-design, recycled content, waste and products, to have the same level of safety of the product and of the packaging. Regarding the European Parliament, we have currently an initiative report from the member of the European Parliament on the new Circular Economy Action Plan, and they suggest some key measures to accelerate the circular economy and to go further than the new Circular Economy Action Plan from the European Commission. We also have a new initiative report on the sustainable single market and one of the product safety that are quite linked specifically on the environmental claims and requirements on packaging and products. Linked to the circular economy and the packaging, we also have the resolution on the Digital Service Act, which is quite important, specifically to be sure that we have involvement of all the e-commerce stakeholders to the EPR schemes, so to contribute to the hand life of their packaging. And we also have a scientific report on plastic packaging from the PETI committee, so linked with the petitions and the initiative of citizens at the EU levels on plastics. And I will not going into too much details regarding other files because we'll discuss it after. Maybe just to underline also that we have a specific contributions to the multi-financial framework. As you know, that was called as a plastic tax at the EU level. And it's quite interesting to have a focus on different translations and transposition of such a measure at the national level. If we take a look at all the overview of the European framework on packaging, we have the EPR with a mandatory EPR scheme for whole packaging by 2025. Member states such as Croatia, Hungary, and Denmark don't have EPR for whole packaging. For France, for example, we don't have an EPR scheme for industrial and commercial packaging. So we need now to implement such an EPR schemes. We need also to cover all the necessary costs for an efficient system. And now for brand owners, they will have to contribute to other costs, such as the cost of littering, with the implications of the single-use plastic directive. We also have eco-design requirements with the new calculations points that is now applicable with the tonnage and the deposit of this year, and will have to be reported to the commissions within 18 months. We also have eco-design requirements with the single-use plastic directive. So as you know, we need to have 25% of recycled content for PET bottles by 2025 and not 2050, and 30% by 2030 for whole plastic bottles. We also have another eco-design requirement, which is an attached cap for whole plastic beverage packaging. It also includes beverage containers such as Tetra. We need also to have separate collections rates and to increase the collections rates thanks to programs such as Reciclos in Spain from EcoMS and to reach a target of 77% by 2025 and 90% by 2029. And we also have the recycling targets for packaging wastes that we have with the Packaging and Packaging Waste Directive, with a big challenge for plastic packaging. Of course, we need to have a 50% by 2025 and 55% by 2030 of all plastic packaging that needs to be recycled. And other actions that are quite linked, such as the sorting of bio-waste from 2023, and will also have an impact on the collection scheme for packaging and organic waste. We have restrictions of some single-use plastic products, also mandatory selections, collections for textile, landfilling of municipal waste that needs to be really decreased, and a ban on landfilling for separate collection products. Regarding the text that we currently have and the works that we have with European Commissions, so we are currently working on the implementation acts of the Single-Use Plastic Directive, specifically to have a common definition on the single-use plastic products, to have also guidelines on the marking requirements. We have marking requirements on specific products, such as wet wipers, tobacco products packaging, and also on beverage containers, to explain that there is plastic on the pack or on the product, and that could have a damage to the environment if it's not well sorted. So this type of marking requirements could be also a base for reflections for other marking requirements under the revisions of the Packaging and Packaging Waste Directive next year. We also have other applications and guidelines in other texts linked to the targets on the collection and also on eco-design. It's quite interesting to have in mind that we will have also guidelines for the EPR for littering, because it's quite important for EPR schemes such as EcoMBES or CITEO, because it will increase the cost of the EPR and the contributions of brand owners, since now we need to cover the cost of littering and to have concrete actions with citizens to decrease the packaging that are littered. Regarding the soft law, we also have the Circular Plastic Alliance and commitments from brand owners for recycled content and packaging. The Circular Plastic Alliance was launched by the Commissions last September. We have the General Assembly at the beginning of December, the 4th of December. And the main goal of the Circular Plastic Alliance is to increase the recycled content of plastic products, with the main focus, of course, on packaging. And the target is 10 million tons of recycled plastic into new products. So not only packaging, but also agricultures, automotives, electronic products by 2025. And regarding the commitments of brand owners, we have since March an European Plastic Pact with concrete targets on reductions of virgin plastic use, of 30% of recycled content for all new plastic products, and the increase of recycling figures by 25 points of percentage by 2025. We also have a text of applications regarding the circular economy package, specifically for the Packaging and Packaging Waste Directive, with a study for the revision of the social requirements. I will talk about it later. And we also have guides and guidelines from the commissions on the minimum requirements of the EPR. Normally, it will be published this month. It's quite important regarding the cost coverage of the EPR, the minimum requirements regarding the contributions to the EPR, but also all to manage the free riders, brand owners, and also how to increase the contributions of e-commerce stakeholders, and to be sure that we have de minimis rules regarding the contributions of the brand owners to the EPR scheme. We also have guidelines on eco-modulations. So I don't know if you are aware about what is eco-modulations. CITEO was the pioneer on eco-modulations because we implement such modulations since 9 years. The concrete goal is to have bonus and malus. Bonus to increase the recyclability of packaging, the marking requirements, and the recycled content for some types of packaging, and malus to decrease all the and to eliminate all the disruptors that we could have on packaging, and to decrease the number of packaging with multi-layers that not have any recycling facility. And now, thanks to the Packaging and Packaging Waste Directive, we need to have an eco-modulations for all EPR schemes on packaging. Now we have upcoming legislative revisions on EPR schemes. So specifically on the minimum requirements I've explained before, with the next steps. So as mentioned, the minimum requirements needs to cover the fee modulations, the necessary costs, the equal treatment of brand owners, and also the free riders and online sign. We also have, thanks to the Article 8A of the Waste Framework Directive, the minimum requirements of the EPR, specifically for the EPR for packaging. And as mentioned, there are all the criteria that the minimum requirements of the EPR for packaging guidelines needs to include, and will be published normally this month. Regarding the implementation of the Single-Use Plastic Directive, as you know, it was adopted by the European institutions 1.5 years ago, and needs to be transposed by the 3rd July 2021. We have 2 sets of guidelines. One is the sub-guidelines specifically for the definition, as explained, of the single-use plastic criteria, and we also have guidelines on EPR specifically for the coverage cost of the litter cleanup, all the eco-design requirements, and we have also standard requests on this. So CEN standards, such as for the desirate cap, that needs to be done by 2023 for all plastics beverage containers, such as beverage bottles, but also Tetra Pak, such as Tetra Pak containers, and the packaging that are quite similar to Tetra Pak. We will also have other implementing acts. I will not go into too much into details, but the thing that you need to remember is the fact that we have 6 months of delay to be expected with the pandemic situations, and all the work that the DG ENVI, the European Commission, is currently have regarding the Single-Use Plastic Directive and the Packaging and Packaging Waste Directive. It's important to have a focus on the essential requirements of the Packaging and Packaging Waste Directive, since it will be really the big chapter next year. So with the Packaging and Packaging Waste Directive, the new version that we have with the circular economy package, the ambition of the European Commission was to get a revision of the essential requirements, since it was not been revised since 1994. There is an insufficient monitoring of the application at the national level. We had a report from the European Court of Auditors 6 weeks ago that underlines the fact that only 5 member states, have a monitoring report for the applications of the essential requirements. They also underline the fact that we don't have any over-packaging definition. So there will be also the work of the European Commission with the revision of the essential requirements. We will also have measures on anti-space, collections rates to be recycled, such as the one that we had for the Single-Use Plastic Directive. Also, maybe measures on the material use, so maybe to have ban on some materials regarding packaging. And last but not least, a very important point, which is recycled content measures and targets for packaging. So not only for plastic packaging, but for all packaging, with also targets on reusable packaging, because as you know, we have the target of all packaging that needs to be recyclable, reusable by 2030. We're not going into much details because I'm sure you will have access to the presentation, but the European Commission is currently working on these revisions of the essential requirements and the revision at the end of 2021 of the Packaging and Packaging Waste Directive. And the scope of the study of the European Commission is really adequacy and effectiveness of all the measures that they are currently thinking on. Identifications of the measure and what could be effective and transposable at the national level, with development of policy options specifically for to assess the recyclability of the packaging at the EU level, because it's also a big notion to have a concrete visions of the recyclability at the European stage, which is in line also with the marking requirement that we will have regarding the recyclability and the environmental impact of packaging, and what are the environmental claims of brand owners on the environmental impact of packaging and products. Regarding the measure and options, we have different levels of ambitions from the European Commission. So option 1, it's all packaging either reusable or recyclable, with a concrete definition at the European level on recyclable packaging. So options 2 could be a definition and design for recycling to define recycling packaging, recyclable. And the third one is recycling ratio defined recycling packaging, so it's more soft one. We have an impact assessment support study with European Commission on this topic, and we have a concrete timeline. So we had a public consultations regarding the inception's impact assessment publications that was launched during the summer. We have now a concrete open public consultations from September to January. So the European Commission with a consultancy, which is Eunomia, will work on a draft final impact assessment study by April next year. And we have the final adoptions of the revisions of the essential requirements and the Packaging and Packaging Waste Directive by the end of 2021. So it's quite a rush, and I'm sure it will be really a concrete, such as the Single-Use Plastic Directive. You will find in this presentation that we will have access our contributions, because we submit a concrete contributions of more than 25 pages regarding these consultations, to have a global vision on the recyclability of packaging, to have a distinctions between recyclability, compostability, and biodegradability, to have a clear definitions on reusable packaging. And also we promote several actions to support the promotion of secondary raw materials. It is really important. Eco-modulations and bonus of the EPR schemes through the contributions of the brand owners. It's important, but it's not enough. If we want to go further, we need concrete regulatory measures to really increase the competitivity between primary raw materials and secondary one, but also to work on food grade certifications, of course, specifically for plastic packaging. We had a report from the European Parliament, as explained, linked to the Digital Service Act, which is really important regarding the contributions of e-commerce stakeholders. We need to be sure we don't have any free riders to the EPR schemes, and really to have the contributions of all the brand owners, because it's really important, since we have a lot of movements with the e-commerce stakeholders, movement of goods, movement of packaging, and we have a lot of paper and cardboard packaging that we need to manage. So it's important to have the contributions of all of the brand owners. Regarding the report of the European Parliament, so the main goal of this report is to give the vision of the European Parliament regarding the new Circular Economy Action Plan. The rapporteur is really wants to go further than the new Circular Economy Action Plan that was published by the European Commission. And specifically on packaging, they would like to really accelerate the implementations of fiscal tools to complement the EPR schemes, and with also the idea of a specific fiscal measures and tax to accelerate the competitivity of materials. They also proposed with other reporters, the shadow reporters, to have a concrete reductions targets for single-use plastic packaging by 2030, or single-use packaging with also a focus on plastic packaging, of course. Legislative measures to reduce over-packaging, so it's and promote reuse models, so it's linked with the revision of essential requirements. And the promotion of deposit refund system, because you know that a lot of member states don't want to implement a DRS, such as the French model. So CITEO was clearly in favor of DRS in France because of the structure that we have in the market and the administrative competences and the waste management that we have in France. It was logical to have such a schemes, but we didn't have any political agreement on this, and we will talk about it in 2023 regarding the figure that we have on the collection rate. And as you know, in Spain, we have the recyclers program with the EcoMBS that is really efficient. So maybe we don't have needs to have any DRS system, since this recyclers program is really good. We offer some contributions to the Circular Economy Action Plan report of the European Parliament. You will find the measures here. And I wanted to have a focus with you on the so-called plastic tax. So as you know, with the multi-financial framework of the European Union, we have now a new own resources based on the non-recycled plastic packaging. So it's based on 80 cents per kilo of non-recycled plastic packaging. So for the Spanish markets, it could be approximately 14 euro per inhabitant. For the French market, it's 90 euro per inhabitant. So now, since it's not a tax, a direct tax from the European Union, it needs to be transposed by the member states, and it's not necessarily linked to the plastic packaging. It could be linked to another measure. The main goal of this measure is really to contribute with this calculation space, but after it could be have any fragmentations problems, because it could be linked to plastic or not. So we had a concrete measures in Italy with a tax on virgin plastic use. We have now an agreement in UK regarding a tax on non-recycled content into new plastic products. So it's quite a different one. We have another one in Spain, which is a draft, and we will talk about it later. And we have also announcements in Austria, so to have such a contribution through the eco-modulations of the APR scheme. So it's really a different vision of such fiscal measures. And I think we need really to have a concrete vision, specifically at the EU level, to be sure where we go for brand owners and for policymakers to don't have any lack of comprehensions regarding such a vision of the European Commission, but also to be sure of the concrete impact in the internal market and for the environment. Sorry for this slide that is very dense, but we had a report from the European Court of Auditors that was published 6 weeks ago, as I mentioned before. And the thing to have in mind is the fact that the European Court of Auditors said that we will not meet the targets that we have for plastic by 2025 and 2030. So we need to go further. So maybe we give ideas to the commissions to go further, specifically with the revisions of the Packaging and Packaging Waste Directive. We also have as a measures to increase the recycled content, the Circular Plastic Alliance, as I mentioned, with targets of 10 million tons of recycled plastics into new products by 2025. And the work of the Circular Plastic Alliance is also connected with the revisions of the Packaging and Packaging Waste Directive, because with the revision of the Packaging and Packaging Waste Directive, we have recycled content targets, and we need to be sure of the obstacles and opportunities of such a targets. So thanks to the work and the expertise of the Circular Plastic Alliance. It's not the case in Spain, but we have national pacts on plastics packaging. We have one in UK, in France, in Netherlands, also in Portugal, and now also in Poland. And all these pacts are have a common criteria and common agreements with the EU Plastic Pact that we have at European level since March this year. We have now more than 15 member states that are involved in this pact, or more than 100 stakeholders with brand owners. CITEO is the only PR schemes under this pact. We also have operators and recyclers. And the key objectives of this pact is to have, as mentioned, highest possible percentage of recycled plastic use, create a sufficient and efficient collection, sorting, and recycling capacity, and reduce the use of plastics. Regarding good practices, we had a report from the European Economic and Social Committee on sustainable packaging. Maybe have a look on this because it's really interesting with 19 examples of sustainable food packaging that have been identified and divided in 5 categories. So the prevention, the reuse, the recycled content, alternative materials, and active intelligent packaging. I would like also to underline that the Ellen MacArthur Foundation's just published yesterday a report and guidelines on the innovation and innovative eco-design requirements on packaging with the same level of good practices. It's quite interesting to have a look on this report that was published yesterday by Ellen MacArthur Foundation. We also have a scientific study from the Petitions Committee, because as you know, we have a lot of petitions at the EU levels from citizens relating to plastics. And it's quite linked with the presentation that we had before regarding the citizens' pressure and the consumer pressure on packaging. 41 to be precise on the petitions relating to plastics. And the Petitions Committee asked for a scientific study regarding the environmental impacts of plastics and microplastics that we have now in the European market. Maybe you heard about it. Last month, we have a call for actions from businesses and NGOs to have an international treaty on plastics, specifically on plastic pollutions, to have concrete actions on eco-design, to have such measures that we have under the single-use plastic strategy, but at the international level, and also measures such as the one that we have for EPR, so to cover the cost of littering. This call for actions was also with brand owners such as retailers with Carrefour, and also big brand owners such as Coke, Danone, Nestlé, Unilever, and so on. So it's quite interesting to see that it's also the same level of ambitions with the European Commission that also enhance such measures and propose such a measure with the Circular Economy Action Plan that was published last March. And to give you an idea of what could be the national transposition of the EU regulations, so at the French level, we had, as mentioned, a national pact on plastic packaging. We have now a law since February, and I will give you some dispositions about this law that could be interesting for you, linked to the Spanish and the French market. And we will also have a national strategy on plastics based on a specific decree to have a concrete reductions of virgin plastic use and to promote a reusable model of packaging. I don't know if it's a good example, but we have this transposition at the national level regarding all the regulations that we've just discussed. So we have the hard law part with a concrete law on circular economy that was published in February. And now we have more than 90 implementing acts. To be precise, we have 98.
Sorry, Axel, to disturb you. And we in 3 minutes, we start the different questions because we have a lot and we will discuss after. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe I will finish by these slides.
Okay.
And we will have a look on the questions and the measures that we have under the circular economy law. Just to be sure that you have a concrete vision of the law, we have now new marking requirements and specific promotions of logos, such as a Triman logo that's now mandatory. So we have a decree that was notified to the European Commission, and now we have a standstill period because we had a negative opinion from the European Commission. We have a specific decree on text of applications regarding logos, such as logos that have confusions for the consumers. So it could be the green dot. So I know that the green dot is mandatory in the Spanish market, and it will be normally banned in the French market. So there is a problem regarding the EU law now. And we have a national strategy on plastics, as mentioned, that we hope that will be notified to the European Commission regarding reductions of plastic products and specifically packaging and the promotion of reusable. I think I will finish now to go directly to the questions, and I'm sure we will have access to the presentation.
Yes, sure. I replied some message that somebody asked to me in private. We will share with you all the presentations of today, so don't worry about it. And also you will have access on this presentation that Axel has. Thank you, Axel, for your presentation. We have several questions on the chat. I will read to you some of them, and then if you can be short and briefly with your answer will be perfect. Yeah. Alex San Miguel and Pera, I think, said the same question. What is the opinion from CITEO about effective and recycling versus potential recyclability? How can this be optimized and harmonized in the list at European level? I think it's a big question because all of them has business in different countries in Europe. So this is an issue, and also it's a big problem that they are having nowadays with that. I don't know if you have some answers.
Yeah. We promote concrete definitions of recyclability based on the materials that you have on packaging, of course, and based also on the recycling facilities that you have at the national level. Maybe I will attach the document that we sent to the European Commission, which is public, but you also have the link of the contributions of the social requirements in the slide, and there is you can click on the link and you will have access to all the opinion of CITEO. And the big part of the opinion is based on the recyclability definition.
Great. Sergi Sabas from Emprater says, is considering CITEO in a limitation in EVO content in LPDE, sorry for the LPDI solutions flexible packaging, any percentage? It's like EVO and...
Sorry, I didn't understand the question.
If you have some limitation in solution and flexible packaging in the recycling, if you could put limitations on this legislation in France about the...
Okay, we don't have any limitations, but it could be with the 3R decree that we have that will be published really soon. It's now the consultations to have reductions of light packaging and flexible packaging and to promote reusable models. So we are not sure, but now it will be the measure. And we have, for us, a reduction specifically on mineral oils if you put any type of mineral oils or opaque and materials to your packaging. So it could be based also linked to, with your flexible packaging, but no, not yet.
Great. And also Marcel said about that they are producing 10% recycled materials. And considering that no system offering recycled plastic that is for food safe, he was thinking about the PP, ask if there is real recycling on the system in France, because here in Spain it's complicated to find recyclable materials for the food activities.
Yeah, it's quite the same problem for the French market, specifically because we don't have any of the food certifications, the food grade certifications at the EU level. So it's also part of the work of the European Commission's EFSA to work on specific food grade certifications. So it's also the work of the Circular Plastic Alliance and the revision of the Packaging and Packaging Directive. So I'm sure it will be a top priority next year.
Great. And the last question from Luis Santini said that if CITEO is going to define also the guideline of recycling flexible polypropylene based on packaging and converting mixed polyphenes. I do not, well, he said that he don't know if someone changed recently, but as far as he knows, was only one of available guideline for propylene based on flexible packaging.
Yeah, we have guidelines on recyclability of all packaging, thanks to the COTREP, which is a committee on the recyclability of plastic packaging with operators, CITEO, and so on. And you have access through the internet on such a guidelines. You just need to have the keywords plastic packaging COTREP CITEO.
Great. So let's.
I will share the link to the chat.
Ah, perfect. That will be great for the people that is asking for that.